Hello everyone. So today we will begin the first topic in the first module. That is, we have the revision of vector calculus. So these vectors and the operations on vectors you might have already studied in your high school or PUC, but since we need them for understanding the different parameters in this subject, we are just going to revise them and refresh your memories. And we are going to learn some new things also. So the physical quantities, broadly we can classify them as scalars and vectors. So what is a scalar? Can anyone tell what is a scale? What is the difference between the scalar and vector quantity? So briefly, if you want to tell, you might have been told by your teachers that scalar is a physical quantity which has got only magnitude but no direction, whereas vector is a quantity which has got both magnitude as well as direction, right? So scalar, it refers to a quantity whose value may be represented by a single real number. So any number we can use it to represent that. Like if you are mentioning some distance, okay, distance traveled, or the temperature at a particular place or at a particular point, okay, then mass of a substance, the density, pressure, okay, it's pressure, not force, okay, force becomes vector, whereas pressure is a scalar quantity, volume, voltage, so these are all scalar quantities. So you can express this scalar just by a number, right? So then coming to the vectors, this vector quantities, they have both magnitude as well as direction. So these vectors, so it's not only the value that is important to us, but also the direction in which that particular quantity is acting. So that is also considered when you consider a vector quantity. The examples for vectors are force, the displacement, velocity, acceleration, all this. Here, along with the magnitude, we are concerned with in which direction it is acting. Okay, so when we say direction in space, it need not, and it is not necessarily only the a plane that you can see on the blackboard or on the screen. So you should be able to imagine a particular vector in 3 dimensions around you. Okay, so we'll come to that when we come to the coordinate systems and all. So what we are concerned in this particular subject with scalars and vectors are the scalar and vector fields. So what is a field? In general, what is a field? So field means, so when there is some energy, around a particular substance. So wherever you keep any other element in that particular region, it experiences some force. So that particular region, it's called the field. So a field, it may be defined mathematically as some function that connects an arbitrary origin to a general point in space. So these fields, they can be scalars as well as vectors. For example, if you take into consideration a bowl of soup as given here, so the temperature throughout the bowl of the soup and the density at any point in the earth. So these are all scalar fields. So we are not concerned with the direction of that particular field. Okay. So whereas if you consider the gravitational force or the gravitational field of the earth, it is directed towards the center of the earth. Or if you consider the magnetic fields of the earth, they are concentrated towards the poles of the earth, north and the south poles. So these are all related, they are vector fields because the direction comes into picture. Or even the voltage gradient or the potential gradient, the temperature gradient, the change in the temperature in the soldering iron tip. So all this, they come under vector fields. And the value of the field, it varies. It is not the same at all the points. It varies in general with both position as well as time. Okay. So how do you represent the vectors? How are vectors represented? Suppose you have a vector quantity A. How to represent it? So it is indicated by drawing a line or an arrow over the symbol of that particular vector. For example, if you have a vector quantity A, so we represent that vector A by using this symbol. Okay. Yeah, by writing A and an arrow mark above that A. Sometimes, in some books they might simply give a line instead of arrow mark. That is also the vector. Okay. Instead of giving the arrow mark in some textbooks, they give only the letter with bold letters. Okay. So that is indication of vector. If it is a normal font, it is a scalar. If it is in bold, it is a vector. So in the textbook, that is prescribed textbook, they have not used the arrow marks, but still, they have written in bold. You should understand that it is a vector. But I'll be using the arrow marks just to avoid any confusion. So a vector, how to represent the vector? So to represent the vector, we use an arrow of a particular length. The length will indicate the magnitude of the vector, and the direction of the arrow indicates the direction of the vector. So these are the two things which our vector has: the magnitude and the direction. The length of the line indicates the magnitude, and the direction of the arrowhead, that indicates the direction of the vector. Suppose this is a particular vector. The length of this line from here to here, okay, this indicates the magnitude. Suppose this is 5 units, the magnitude is 5, and this direction of the arrow mark, this indicates the direction of the vector. So this is how a vector is written: an arrow mark, an arrow, right? The length indicates magnitude, direction indicates the direction of the vector, and below that you write the symbol of that particular vector field and an arrow mark over that particular alphabet. Next we have vector algebra. Similar to what we have done in normal algebra or scalar algebra, we have vector algebra. That is, we have different operations: vector arithmetic, vector algebra, and vector calculus. Some of the rules for these are similar to what we have seen in scalars, but some they are different. Okay, and some new things also we are going to see. So first we will see addition of vectors, addition of two or more vectors. So you know the addition of normal numbers, right? Similarly, we can add two vectors. So how to add vectors? Suppose there are two vectors A and B. Okay, we can add them by using either of these two laws, either using law of parallelogram or using law of triangle. Consider there are two vectors A and B. Suppose this is the vector A. Okay, this is the vector A starting from here and ending here, and there is another vector B. So this is starting at the same point as A has started and is ending at this particular point. So what is the sum of A and B? So these things, you might have studied in your physics. Can anyone draw it and complete this? I will allow you to write over this. Okay. Can anyone add this? Please don't do that. Okay. Okay. Yeah, who is doing this? Who is this? Can type your name. R. Adarsh. Okay, okay, fine. Okay, that's right. So this is by using, the law of parallelogram. So both are originating from a single point, right? So you can complete the parallelogram by drawing the adjacent or the other sides of this, right? So when you complete, please stop that. When you complete the parallelogram, right? So the diagonal of this parallelogram is the result vector or the sum vector. The diagonal of this parallelogram is the sum A plus B. Okay. Yeah. This is when you have both the vectors originating from a single point. So what if you have this particular case wherein there is a vector A and another vector B like this? Here B is from the point where A ends. B is starting from the point where A ends. So this is A, this is B. What is A plus B? So if you use the same logic, this is the law of triangle, where A plus B is the line that completes the triangle of A and B. So it's very logical. So this is the starting point. It comes from here to here. From here it goes to this point. So when you consider vector, we are simply considering only the starting and the ending point. So it's just from this point to this. This is the sum A plus B. Okay. So this way you can add any two vectors, and the same logic, it can extend to more than two vectors. Okay. Two vectors, they can be added by either by drawing both vectors from a common origin and completing the parallelogram, or by beginning the second vector from the head of the first and complete the triangle. The same can be extended to more than 2, 3 or more vectors. So there are some rules, commutation law, associative law. Commutation law or commutative law is that A plus B is the same as B plus A. If you consider the previous case, if you are, sorry, if you are adding, when you're adding two vectors, if it is B plus A, then also it is the same, right? So there is no difference. Similarly, in this case, when you're taking it as B plus A, even then the result comes the same. So A plus B and B plus A, they are one and the same. That is vector addition obeys commutative law or a commutation law. It also obeys the associative law. If you have two or more vectors, more than two vectors, if you want to find the sum of A with the sum of B and C, okay, so that will be the same as sum of A plus B plus C. Okay, you can do this. You can take some random vectors and add them and verify, so they will come equal. So next, coming to the subtraction of vectors. Subtraction of vectors, that actually can be performed using vector addition itself. So how is that? For example, if you want to find A minus B, you can find it by using A plus minus B. You can take the vector A and the negative of vector B and then add them together, you get A minus B. So how to find negative of a vector? If you know a vector A, what is the negative of that particular vector? The negative of a vector is the same vector, the magnitude will be the same, but the direction will be reverse. The direction will be opposite. So if this is A, then minus A will be the same, but direction will be reversed. So this way. So this is minus A. So if this is A, then this will be minus A. So we have seen addition, subtraction, then we will see the multiplication of vectors. When it comes to multiplication, there are two things. You can multiply vectors by a scalar quantity. You can also multiply vectors by vector quantity. Multiplication of vector by a vector we will see later after we discuss the coordinate systems. For now, we will see the multiplication of vector by a scalar quantity. So when a vector is multiplied by a scalar, the magnitude of the vector changes. For example, if you are multiplying vector A with a scalar quantity m, then the magnitude will be m multiplied by A. Okay. If the scalar is positive, then the direction of the vector also remains the same. But if the scalar is negative, then the direction will reverse. So how to explain this? See, suppose this is the vector A. Suppose this is the vector A. Can you tell me what is vector 3A? 3 is the scalar quantity. You are multiplying the vector A with this particular scalar quantity. So as we see, the magnitude will change. So magnitude will change means the length of this vector is multiplied by 3. But since 3 is a positive number, the direction will remain the same. So this will be 3A. This is the vector 3A. This length of this is 3 times the length of this, but the direction is the same. Suppose you want to find the minus 2A. Okay, minus 2 times of A. Minus 2 is a scalar quantity. It is a negative number. That is why the direction will be opposite, right? And the length of the vector is multiplied by 2. Length of this A is multiplied by 2 and the direction is opposite to that of A. This is the way you can multiply vectors by scalars. And similar to addition, here also there are some rules or laws that it follows. Okay. Multiplication of a vector by a scalar, they obey associative and distributive law. For example, if you multiply the sum of two vectors A plus B by M, the same thing can be written as M into A plus M into B. This is distributive law, right? M into A plus M into B. The same scalar is multiplied by both the vectors. If you have this kind of thing, R plus S, sum of two vectors multiplied by sum of two scalars. Okay, the same thing can be written as it's associative law, R into A plus B plus R S into A plus B. Sorry, it's also distributive law. Again, R can be multiplied by both the vectors inside the brackets. So R into A plus R into B plus, if you expand this particular term, you get S into A plus S into B, right? Yeah. So that is multiplication of vectors by scalar. On the similar grounds, we can also have division of vectors by scalars. Division of a vector by a scalar is similar to multiplication, but you are taking the reciprocal of that particular scalar and multiplying. Suppose you want to divide a vector A by a scalar m, you can multiply reciprocal of m, 1 by m, and multiply it with A. So this is the way you can achieve division, by multiplying the vector with the reciprocal of the required scalar. Suppose this is the vector A, right? Then what will be A by 3? A divided by 3 will be the vector will be the same, but its size will be divided by 3. The length will be divided by 3. So this is A divided by 3. Direction will be the same, but magnitude is divided by 3. If you have a negative number, if you are dividing by a negative number, then the direction will be opposite. The direction, instead of showing right, you have to show it to the left. Okay. So these are different operations that you perform, and different laws, commutative, associative, and distributive laws we have seen, which are applicable to the operations on vectors. Okay. Next, we will see. We will move on to the coordinate systems. First, we will look at a very simple and simple coordinate system which you are already familiar with. That is the rectangular coordinate system. The rectangular coordinate system, you also call it Cartesian coordinate system, and you might have used this. You already used this, but normally till now you might have used only two coordinates, x and y. But here, we are going to use three coordinates, x, y, and z. These coordinates are mutually perpendicular to each other. So why we are going to, why we are going through this coordinate system is because we want to locate where exactly our quantities are in space. Okay. In order to locate a particular point, we are going to represent that in terms of x, y, and z coordinates, or any other coordinates which we are going to see later. So we need to exactly know where the points, or where the force, or any particular parameter is acting in space. So to locate that, we are going to use the coordinate system. So normally what we do is we use a right-handed coordinate system. In a right-handed coordinate system, so why we stick to a standard is there should not be confusion as to which are the directions of x, y, and z. Suppose you know the two axes x and y. Okay. If there are two axes x and y, I will write here. If this is x and if this is y, okay. So normally this is the convention, right? X is the horizontal and y is the vertical when there are two axes. What is the direction of z? What is the direction of z? Can anyone show it here? Okay, if this is x, okay, you type in the chat, what is the direction of z? There can be two possibilities. If x is right, towards the right, and horizontal towards the right, y is vertical towards the top, right? Upwards. What is the direction of z? There can be two possibilities. One is it is going into the screen. The other one is it is coming out of the screen. What could be z? Perpendicular to both. Yes. Z is perpendicular to both. And what is the direction? Whether it is going into the screen or whether it is coming out of the screen. So there has to be another vector which is perpendicular to both of this. So it has to either go inside the screen or it has to come outside the screen. So to decide whether it is coming in or out, you have to take a screw. Okay, you have to take a screw and place it at the point of intersection, at the origin. You can call this as origin. Then rotate the screw from x to y. If you rotate the screw from x to y, what is the direction of the screw? Whether it will go inside the screen or whether it will come outside the screen. You have to rotate from x to y in the smaller angle. Okay, in the smaller angle means it is in this direction. It is in this direction. If you rotate the screw in this particular direction, the screw will come out, right? So z will be the direction coming out. Okay, so z will be the direction coming out. We will show it like this with angle 45 degrees, something like this. This is the direction z. Okay, so if this is the direction of x, this is the direction of y, and this will be the direction of z. So when I write z, I will write along with Z, I will write a dash here just to avoid confusion with number 2. Okay, with the number to avoid confusion with the 2, we will draw it there. Yeah, okay. So if you take the screw and rotate from X to Y, that is the direction of the third axis. This way you can take any axis. Suppose this was Y and this was Z. It should be in the circular manner, okay? Y and Z. Then if you rotate from Y to Z, you'll get X. So that is actually the notation that we follow in the book. This will be X, okay? This axis will be X, what is coming out from the screen or the blackboard. This will be Y, horizontal one, and Z will be the vertical one that is going above. Okay, so that's the right-handed coordinate system. I will show you why it's called right-handed. Okay, so this is the right-handed rule. If in the right-handed rule, if the thumb is x-axis, then the forefinger is the y-axis, and the middle finger is the z-axis. Okay, so this is a right-handed right-handed rule for coordinate systems. If x is indicated by the thumb, y will be the forefinger, and z will be the middle finger. You can have the other ways also, different configurations here. This is the same thing. If x thumb is the x, forefinger is y, the other one is z. If you take this as x, if you take forefinger as x, the next one will be y, and this will be z. You should take it in a circular manner: x, y, z. Suppose you take this as x, this will be y, and this will be z. Okay. If you take middle finger as x, then the thumb will be y, and the forefinger will be z. Okay. So that way you have to decide the axis by using your right hand's 3 fingers: thumb, forefinger, and middle finger. So we use this particular notation in the textbook, and throughout this subject we use this particular notation or representation, where x is the axis coming out of the screen, y is the axis which is horizontally and which is moving towards the right, and z is moving upwards. Okay, it is a vertical one and moving upwards. So if this is x, what is the negative x-axis? Negative x-axis, so x is coming out of the screen, so the negative x-axis is going into the screen, right? Negative x-axis is the one which is going into the screen. So y is the axis which is going towards the right. So minus y, or the negative y-axis, is the one which is going towards the left. Similarly, z is the axis which is going upwards. So minus or negative z is the one which is going downwards. Okay. So this is the way, you have to set up the axis first. Okay. So I'll end it for today. From in tomorrow's class, we will see how to locate a particular point in this coordinate system. Okay, and how to carry out certain operations. There are different coordinate vectors, position vectors, unit vectors, and all that. How to represent those vectors in rectangular coordinate system. Fine. Okay, I'll stop it.